Hi everyone, it's Moss from Spiral Path, coming to you with another podcast. It's Sunday the 14th of November and right now I'm sat in my van, about to leave for my walk today. It's been weeks, you guys. It's been weeks since I've managed to get out. It was it was September last time I got to my favourite place for a proper walk. Excuse me. So I'm here in my van. I've got my wicker backpack which has all my walking stuff in. I've got my hand warmers on because I mean business today. I'm really excited to get back out to my favourite place. I'm on my own today and hoping that there might be some late Hawthorn berries and rose hips that are still hanging around, that are still okay. The weather's been pretty mild. We did have a frost, I think, so it's not ideal, but that's life. All right, I will see you in the woods. So I've just left the van behind and set out on the path, and I'm just thinking back to excuse me while I'm squidging rose hips to see if they're too soft or not. I was just thinking back to the first time I did a recording here, and the air was alive with the sound of birds and with insects, and even in September there were so many insects because they were all feeding on the ivy flowers. So that's one of the things I like about coming back to the same place again and again. It might sound boring, but it means that I get an understanding of the cycles this place goes through because I notice the differences. So now I'm going to pick some of these rose hips, I think, because they're still nice and firm. Oh, they're sloes too. Right, I get my picking bag out. Just picked a few sloes and rose hips and carrying on the path now, but I've heard a few gunshots in the background, and it is something that I have heard at this place before, so I know that it's not a bird scarer, but is either one person shooting or an actual organised shoot. And I was a hunt sab for several years. Quite a few years ago now I had to stop because of PTSD, really, and the traumas that I went through. So you hear something like that, there's gunshots in the distance, and suddenly, it's like something grabs hold of your heart and your breath feels tight and there's a weight in your stomach, and there's just that tension, horrible tension just drops into your body from the traumas you've been through. And it breaks my heart that I come to nature, I come to the countryside for solace and peace and sanctuary, and that's just shattered by people who are out to kill animals. So hopefully it will stop, they will stop, and I can let my surroundings sort of calm my nervous system. And let's see how we go. I've just stopped by another beautiful rusting hedge of rose hips. The colours of this time of year are my favourite thing about autumn. You've got these, what I called in the last podcast, ruby red rose hips, but it's the contrast against the dark green leaves, and the other half of the leaves are speckled and just turning to this acid yellow is so beautiful. And how the light's coming out. The sun's coming out. I see my shadow on the path, the sandy path before me. It's good to feel the sun on your face. And it's lighting up this archway of bright yellow. What is that? What tree is that? Some trees I'm good with, some I'm not. Possibly an older. It's beautiful. Time to pick some more rose hips. It's faded away now, but the jackdaws were making the most amazing noises. Hopefully some of that will come out so you can hear it. I love how playful they are. So chatty. Amazing birds. When I was here back in mid-September, I was wearing just a dress. It was an unseasonably warm day. And today I've got 2 t-shirts and a dress, a long dress, and a big coat with my hood up, and there's people. And a scarf and arm warmers. And yeah, it's not that cold today. It's pretty mild, so I didn't wear a big shawl or poncho or cape or anything like that. So I do love my layers, but yeah, it definitely feels like autumn, but not winter today. It's beautiful. Just stopping in this tunnel. I forget what they're called now. Oh, I can't remember. It's not a 3-way. It's in a Roger McFarlane book, but I can't remember. It's like a tunnel of green and wildlife. Partly in shade, partly in bright sunlight, and everything at the top is bright yellow. The leaves just slightly dancing, flickering in the breeze. Bright blue, cloudy sky behind it. Beautiful. So I just found a couple of hawthorn bushes and picked a few berries, being much more selective than I would usually because, because, they're not in the best condition now. We're getting later on in the season, so I wanted to make sure they hadn't been eaten by bugs or were too squishy, that kind of thing. But also I'm being very mindful that we're getting towards winter, and if it's a harsh winter, then I want to leave plenty of berries for the birds. So again, this is a good thing about coming out regularly through a season if you can. Just so you can build up your stores slowly and not have too great an impact on the landscape. So that's sort of how, nice bird song, that's how I like to manage it if I have the time. Does anyone else find it really awkward when you stand to the side to get out of somebody's way, which I've been doing a lot more since COVID, and they don't even acknowledge you, not even see you as a human being, like you're not there? I find that really cringy. I want to shout at them, "Yo, how come?" Which of course I never do. Also, I've not heard any more shots in a while, so I can only hope that they're done and I can feel myself starting to relax, still listening out for sounds of shooting. But yeah, this place is doing its thing on me. I'm starting to relax into it more, into the softness here, the softness of the soil beneath my feet, the sounds, the breeze on my cheek, the colours. I do love this place. I do love being outside, being in nature, where I can be myself. Oh, the mugwort, beautiful to plant. Such a relief. Such a relief. As the wind rises and falls and the leaves tumble slowly from the trees, I try to soften, or I try to release, and to take nature as my teacher and to learn. So I don't know if you will be able to hear at any point these kids behind me, but it's just 3 or 4 of them, not that close to me. They're in a piece of open landscape. And yeah, I heard them right around the corner, quite far away. I thought that they would be much closer, so I actually sort of waited around the corner thinking they were going to come round. I didn't want to bump into them on a narrow bit, and they didn't come, so I hurried around the corner, and then they're miles away. When I saw them, it just had me thinking about a few things. I guess our senses in the landscape, before cities, when the majority of people lived in the countryside, I wonder, were people still too sort of wrapped up in their own lives, their day-to-day lives, that they didn't have a sort of greater senses in terms of picking up people on the landscape, or, I guess if there were more people here, were people more attuned to picking up sights and sounds and smells of people and animals? Sorry, I'm walking up a hill. We don't have many here in Suffolk, so our Suffolk legs struggle with them. So excuse the breathiness. Yeah, I mentioned sabbing a minute ago, and one thing that did give me, there's a few things that are positive. Getting out in the countryside, week in, week out, 7 months of the year for 6 years. It really it opened up my senses. It made me pay attention to my senses. Yeah, sorry, this is steep. If you're not familiar with sabbing, being a hunt saboteur, so going out and taking peaceful direct action to try to stop hunts from killing animals, sometimes shoots, mostly hunts, by finding them and getting in their way, or being preemptive the majority of the time, trying to stop them picking up the scent of the animal they're chasing, etc. Anyway, I won't go into that too much more. But because you are, you rock up in the countryside, you have an idea of where the hunt meets. Oh, it's hard to talk about this. I don't talk about it very often, but it's relevant here, I promise. Stick with me. And then you basically spend all day, either in the Land Rover or the vehicle, whatever, or on foot, trying to find them. And then when you find them, you're doing things like trying to cover up the scent of the fox with citronella essential oil, so that the hounds, if they come that way, they don't pick up the scent of the fox, that kind of thing. Or using sound to distract the hounds if it's a bit more dire and they're on the scent. So how's this relevant? What that did is, I talked in the last podcast about how my parents both came from the city, from Liverpool. So although I'm from Suffolk, born and bred sort of thing, my folks weren't, and I don't really have a lot of countryside skills, if that's such a thing, or awareness, I guess. So going sabbing and basically looking either for foxes, for signs of foxes, sometimes hares, mostly foxes, or looking for the hunt and trails of the hunt in mile upon mile upon mile of open landscape. I am grateful that it gave me much better senses. It made me listen a lot more, because quite often you can really pick up things just by tuning into them, just by tuning into the landscape around you. You can hear things that are so far away, like the teenagers I just mentioned. You can smell things, you can see birds going up on the horizon that tell you they've all been disrupted from a copse. Oh, it's beautiful. Little birds flying over me. I don't know what they are. Yeah, that kind of thing. So, you look for prints a lot more. If for me at least, I can only speak for myself, it put me in tune with the landscape a lot more. And also got me out into the countryside, where I just never had, other than the heath where I lived as a kid. We never really went walking or exploring in the countryside. This just wasn't our family. So yes, at least some good things came from the horrible trauma of being a hunt sub, especially around the time of the hunting ban here in England. So I really want to stop talking about this, but I will sort of segue by saying, can you hear that? I don't know if that's rooks, I think. A long way off, can't even see them. Yes, exactly that, really. That when I was sort of making my way up here in the van, I was thinking about senses and how, the world we live in today, especially with the fact that so many of us are on our phones all the time, we're absolutely bombarded with information, with entertainment, with people wanting things from us, with messages, calls. Our attention span is not what it was. And so I think, there are many people who really want to engage in the countryside. Even, let me change countryside for nature, because nature exists far beyond the countryside. Just put this bag down, my bag of berries. Yeah, one thing that we can all do, wherever we are and however bad our attention, or one thing that we can all do at any time is to choose one sense. So you might choose hearing, you might choose sight, you might choose smell, you might choose touch. Whatever sort of is right for you in that moment, and just key into that. Just look around you, and through the lens of that sense, use that sense as a means to connection, as a means of kind of creating a moment of stronger engagement with the land. So for me, actually, the moment that came to me, I was driving, so I was cocooned in my van, away from the natural world, but I was so struck by the colours of the leaves on the sides of the streets that I was driving down, that it, I just, the bright yellows and oranges grabbed my eye. But then when I stayed with that, I recognised that it enabled me to really look around me, and there goes the bag from here, and re-engage the landscape in a better way, to look in a deeper way. It gave me something to focus on. So yeah, I'd recommend that, to anybody, but particularly to folks who sort of struggle with attention, or really want to have more of an embodied sense of the landscape. And so, even you don't have to pick one sense, but you can just come back to the body, come back to the nervous system. How do I feel in this moment? How does this sight make me feel? And I'm smiling now because I can hear that my voice is quietened and slowed down, and I'm actually standing on a hill, leaning against a telegraph pole, and I've just started to rock back and forth as I've slowed down. And the wind is standing out to me, the breeze is fluttering the skirt of my dress, flickering this piece of hair in front of my face. And that right there is how nature, for me at least, grounds me. That wasn't something I attempted to do just then. It was just the things that I was talking about just situated me, made me present right here in the moment in my body. I just checked in with my body, and yeah, it just brings the most profound peace, and also takes me out of my head and my thoughts, and brings me back to my body in this landscape. And that's why I'm here. There's huge clouds today filling the sky. And I find it really interesting sometimes how clouds in particular, they're present a lot of the time, and we don't always notice them. And I have those moments, like I just did now, where I just, I slow down enough to spot that the clouds are moving. You can't always see it, you can't always get a sense of it, and there aren't always clouds, of course, but it's just one of those moments where you're called back into your body, back into the landscape. And it reminds me that it's always moving, always evolving, always changing, as am I, as a part of this landscape, just another organism sharing this land with the clouds, with the people I see on the horizon, with the sheep in the field, with the trees, with the breeze, with the shadows, with the grass, with the plants, with the river. And this is why I like to stop. I mentioned this in the last podcast about how I've started to stop more on my walks, because I love walking, but just stopping every now and then just allows everything to sort of realign and come back to my body in the landscape, checking in with the landscape instead of constantly responding, which again I talked about in the last podcast. And that is the sort of excitement level of the walk, that yes, I'm familiar enough with this place that it gives me a sense of security and a sense of parameters around what I can expect when I come here. But there's that excitement of not knowing exactly what's going to happen, exactly what I'm going to see, how the weather's going to be, who I'm going to meet, which, hello, some fly just saying hello. And I'm blathering. So this hilltop is a great place to just pause and reflect. And it's the highest point, which is not very high because, hello, East Anglia. But it gives you an overview here. It's actually where me and my other Druid friends come for rituals. It's a very special place for me. There's the wind. So I'm going to stop talking, put the phone down, and just catch up with myself a bit more, check in with the landscape. And I'll just let you hear some of what I'm hearing just for a moment. It seems around a quarter of the leaves, a quarter of the trees around me have lost their leaves. Many of the others, are slowly falling, but some trees remain a vibrant green, but not many. And there's also a bank of very grey cloud gathering to one side of me. So it's not going to be my longest walk. I'm also a little bit short of battery. So after my long ramble, probably. So I'm going to try and find a few more berries before I start thinking about heading for home. I'll let you know if there's anything interesting on the way. Come down off the hill now. It's a little wetter down here. The soil is quite sucking in places. Maybe you can hear that pheasant behind me. Hopefully they are one that has escaped the sheet and can go find a place for themselves away from this area where they'll be safe. And when the wind has died down today, she's coming away from blood sports again. It's a lot quieter. What I mean by that is it's incredibly peaceful. Very regularly today the wind just stops entirely and it feels like everything around me is just holding its breath, utterly still. And much of the plant life. I'm just walking along the river, and usually there's quite a lot of smaller plants either side of the path here. Whether the area has been, well, let me see. Yes, it's been, well, there's big tyre tracks, so I don't know why they would do that, but you can see the new life that's shot up in the, I'm guessing, week or two since that happened. And so much of it is comfrey. This place has the most comfrey out of anywhere that I've ever seen. And its large crowns just dot the landscape all around me. It's a plant I need to get to know more. Sound of the squelching mud under my shoes as I'm slipping and sliding along the path by the river. Just heading towards some oak trees and some hawthorn bushes that I am deeply familiar with and have sung to in the past and have gathered from many times to see if they have anything for me. And it looks like they do, so I'm going to pick some hawthorn berries for heart healing tincture, which everyone could use, right? Now the grey clouds are passing over, still lingering but mostly gone. The sun's returned. It's actually rather warm. The light is lighting up the dew and the wetness in the grass from the rain that we had last night. Everything is shining, sparkling. I think, there's a wren. I think it's a wren that makes that sound. Or was it a robin? I saw it, now I've lost it. Beautiful. And these hawthorns, which are in much more full sun, the leaves are much further along, they've gone over more, they're a lot more brown. Absolutely beautiful. I'll take a photo, and there's not as many berries here, so I'll move on in a moment. I'm just using my last bit of battery to say, oh my god, I've just found mistletoe. I've just spotted it across the field and come running over here and taken some video and pictures of it. It's so beautiful. I've never seen it here before. Sacred to the Druids, magical mistletoe. Its folk name is All Heal because it's so medicinal. What a wonderful, special, sacred plant. It's made my day. I've just seen two incredible sights that have made me so excited. Mistletoe and a giant fallen tree just smothered in mushrooms. I'm not sure if they were honey fungus, not that up on mushrooms, but just studded with them. Absolutely beautiful. Now these grey clouds are still lingering, so I'm heading back to the van. So I've just got back to the van and it's really warm in here. I'm really hot now. This weather's all over the show. The sky is like as black as dark grey can be without being black. which is making all of the orange leaves really stand out. So I think I shall definitely be heading home in a second, because I have to walk from where I park my van to my house. So hopefully it will wait to rain until I get back, but I'll be okay if not. So yeah, I saw an Irish wolfhound on the way back, and they're just so epic, aren't they? So beautiful, and they always make me think that, you know, they look like they've stepped out of the pages of a mythology book. Look them up if you can't think what an Irish wolfhound looks like. They are huge and shaggy haired and beautiful. So yes, I think it's time to get back now, and I will post this up and let you all know at some point via social media. And yeah, I guess, you know, today, often when I walk, I get quite a lot of insights, and so, or I slip into quite a sort of poetic way of thinking, and I think that really came over in the last podcast. But I guess today I've been a lot more sort of what's the word? Introspective, and, you know, relating a lot more to sort of personal memories and things like that. So, you know, I hope that you don't mind that, and that I've still reflected what I saw and what I thought and what I heard as I went on my walk. As rough and ready as that will always be, because I just want to really capture that essence of my experience, and, you know, without sort of editing that out. So yeah, I hope that you like it. I hope it's not been too introspective for you. And yeah, I look forward to sort of finding out how you feel about this, and yeah, how you feel about my work in general with Spiral Path. So, you know, don't forget to look up the website. I've just added to the shop recently a couple of big things, actually. The Into the Cauldron workshop that I did back in September, which is about kind of giving us tools to sort of better handle and find wisdom from the dark half of the year and the descent into winter. That is now up with a 10-page workbook on the website. But also I've just shifted all of my tarot spreads over from my Etsy shop, close that down, all onto my website now. If you didn't know, I'm also a tarot reader. So check that out. Check out the web shop. Patreon is just so beautiful right now. We're forging such a supportive and insightful community, and the Winter's Embrace course has started, which has been had a beautiful, stunning opening ritual, and that will be released over winter at some point as a course that people can do anytime as well. So just a little bit of an update about what's going on with me there. But the sky's lightened a little bit, which is great. But it's still time for me to go. So I hope wherever you are, you're having a great weekend and you're enjoying the seasons. Bye.